love that. Happy Father's Day, Oasis. Can we give a hand to all of our dads, our awesome dads in the house? Man, such an awesome day. And I had a revelation last service, is the fact that typically before I preach, I go like on a 35, 40-second rant. I don't know why I do it. I know Pastor Jonathan has his whole pretext with the context and everything else, but for some reason, I just go like a 30-second rant. And again, can you just stop giving me raffle tickets? You're just wasting paper. Because I have never won a thing, but it's the same people, Pastor Cliff, that keeps on walking away with stuff. Thank you, Ashley. It's rigged. And so just stop wasting paper and stop giving me false hope. This is supposed to be a place where hope never ends, but every time it's a raffle, it's squashed. Josh, okay, rant over. Oh, also, I've apologized twice today already. Soccer is a sport. I love soccer. It's like I almost wore an Austin FC T-shirt today just to bury the hatchet with everyone. But hey, love y'all. But hey, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you guys. Glad you'd be here.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So, with that in mind, we have an awesome... Now, here's the thing, though. Oasis has, like, the greatest dads. Like, we have the greatest dads. And so, it was hard trying to come up with a panel because every single person, every guy out here can easily be up here, sharing wisdom and knowledge and experiences. And so, we just want to just have a quick chat, ask them a couple questions. Before we do that, let's just go around the horn, introduce yourself, talk about marriage within like 45 seconds. Who you're married to, kids, names, ages, all the above. Act like they don't know you.
So I am Maggie's husband, the amazing Maggie's husband, otherwise known as Robert Garza. I've been married to Maggie for 18 years. I have a 30-year-old son who gave me two grandsons. They're awesome. We adopted Josh and Bethany. They're 20 and 19. Life's been great. We've been part of Oasis since before it was Oasis. So we're like ground zero.
Nice. My name is Charles Hopkins, married to the lovely Janelle Hopkins. And we have, you can clap for it. Go ahead. And we have three lovely children. Our oldest is a daughter, Jalen. She's 14. Then we have our son, Charlie, is 11, and Chandler, he's 7. We just made 16 years 2 weeks ago. So,
Well, I'm Hedy Gallardo. My lovely wife, Ashley, the best hype woman and just wife ever. And we have a great blessing. Santi Gallardo chilling in the back. I don't know if you can see me through the window or anything, but he's about to be a year old on the 30th of this month. So time flies. I feel like I'm the least of everybody, of all the dads, but just to get to see all of these great fathers at Oasis, my time here has been a blessing. Has taught me so much.
Hello? Hey, so my name's Garrett Conrad, and my world is sitting over here in the middle row. The beautiful wife, Melissa. We've been married for 19 years. We have an 18-year-old son, Avery, and a 16-year-old son, Ethan. So,
Wow. So here's the thing. We did this last service, and I thought like there was going to be like 17 people. I counted. I thought there'd be like 17 people that was going to faint, pass out, and have to call the hospital or something. But it was so cool. We got to do it again. So you guys got some drinks. Let's pop a cold one. Can we pop a cold one? Let's pop a cold one real quick. There we go. Awesome. All right. So you see how quiet it just got? It was like, what are they drinking? What's in those? Don't worry about what's in it. Mind your own business. So, all the dads, make sure fathers. We have these cold ones out in the lobby. Make sure you get yours before you head home. This is what we got them for you. So here's the thing. We're gonna ask some questions. The way this is going to work is that we're just going to be open, honest, transparent, because there's a lot of people out there that could learn, benefit from, your experiences and the things you went through. So let's go get started. The very first question, easy one, softball. Start off easy. What do you enjoy most about being a father?
I'll go first. So what I enjoy most is getting to see those little people turn into grown-ups. You know, they do what you tell them to do most of their life, most of the time. And then when they get up and they start turning into their own person, and you get to sit back and watch. That's a cool feeling when you're like, you know, everything that you thought you were having a struggle to put into them, and then they're running that play automatically. You're like, yes, it's stuck. That's enjoyable for me.
That's so good. That's good. Can you say the question one more time? Just want to make sure.
What do you enjoy most about being a father?
Okay, awesome. What do I enjoy most? Seeing these young munchkins kind of grow up. Like, you know, you can always remember when they were like a baby, an infant. You bring them home, you're scared, and then like you turn around and like they have their own personalities. They're their own people, and it's just like what I enjoy most is like I don't have any control over what happens as far as like, I mean, yeah, we shepherd them to hope they become, you know, who we try to train them to be, but they could be anybody, and I feel like it's a great responsibility. So I love seeing when the fruits of your kind of hard work starts growing up. So.
I think for me is just seeing, you know, every day getting to experience, you know, a baby grow and being able to love them and their, you know, different stages. Obviously, mine is about to be a toddler, and just seeing them grow up through that and being able to love somebody that, and I always tell Ashley, he's kind of like a stranger just hanging out that we love so much, because, you know, he can't really communicate. Now I know when he's crying at a certain time, he's sleepy or hungry, but just being able to love on somebody like that, you know, just teaches you so much.
Yeah, I definitely agree with these three men here. You know, the different seasons of raising kids, for sure, is very rewarding. But also, what I really enjoy is when I speak to people and they compliment my kids. You know, and whether it's a parent-teacher conference or when they're old enough to work and it's their boss, or, you know, people that work with them at youth, at church, anything like that. It just makes me feel that gratitude and that kind of that validation of like, okay, that's good. I'm putting good humans in the world, and that's my goal. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you know what? We're not going to break anything if you all clap. I mean, feel free to do so. I mean, we're like, if we clap, gas is going to get more expensive. So, but what I love about these responses is that they were all different. You know, everyone was different, and I think one thing I would definitely say, because of it, the response were different, what brings you joy, what you enjoy most about it, is one thing you all have in common is that you enjoy it. You know, that there's certain aspects of fatherhood. Yeah, there's going to be struggles. There's going to be days where you're like, what did I get myself into? You know, like whatever. But there's also way more moments than not is like you're just enjoying the now. You know, enjoying the process, enjoying, you know, the whole thing. And yeah, Hetty, I totally get the whole thing about the stranger living with you, because that's having a first child and it can't talk really, and it's just there, but it's like living off of you, and you're like I know you have a personality, but I don't know who you are, but you're mine. Yeah, so you feel like you're being trespassed on a little bit, but they grow up, and then it's dads. It's just that weirdness with dads and kids that don't like. It's okay. I see. There's this thing in me that tells me to stop talking because I'm going to start. I'm trying to find. Is Nina in here? No. Oh, sweet. Nina's not in here. Awesome. That's my wife. For those that don't know who that is. All right. So next question. Now I really want to spend some time. So let's dive deep in this question, because I think for what we have to say, I think more people here could probably get more benefit out of our responses with this next question, because of it's on everyone's mind. It's talked about, or it should be talked about at least, and that is, how vital is the role of a father in today's deconstruction of the family? What I mean by that question is, how vital are we as fathers when the world is trying to take apart the family?
Sure, I'll go. How vital is the role? I mean, I think it's critical. And it's critical because the word that came to me is like, you have to first bind the strong man before you can go in and spoil his home, right? And it's like a lot of us, just through the cares of the world, you know, we end up through society, through whatever else, you can end up bound and feeling bound. As the strong man of your household, if you're the one supposed to make sure everyone is good, and we find ourselves getting bound up by the cares of the world or, society or whatever rules, then that's when people are in trouble. So just the role of the father is critical to help ensure the safety of not only, the spouse, but also for the children, and to make sure people are grown up properly. So I think it's paramount.
Yeah, I think that was amazing, Charles. And I think, I think it's as equally as important as a mother, because my mother raised me, and I have so much love and respect for her. And, she can only do so much for me, as a young man. And I believe fathers have the capacity and the ability to bring identity and image to their children. And, we have a whole world telling us, or telling our children what to be and how to act and how to think, when fathers take the role, in their home, and they start to express the mind of Christ to them, and, just who they are in Christ. It just, it shapes an amazing body, and it shapes just wonderful children. So I think it's as vital as a mother, and, just we all have different areas of influence.
So I want to add to that, because those are great answers. What I think the most important part is that we change the world, right? The little people that we're raising, our kids, that's the next population that's going to make the decisions. You look at the media, you look at social media, television, everything out there, right? That's all about being soft, right? And just everything's okay. Well, no, some things aren't okay, right? And if you don't raise your kid to be able to stand up and say, that's wrong, then no one's going to say it, right? Someone's got to raise that next standard of what's right and what's wrong. All right?
Yeah, that's so true. It seems like lately there's just this attack on a masculinity, the toxic masculinity. And it's, I understand it can go too far in certain scenarios, but there's nothing like a mother and father together in a family unit. Each parent possesses certain things that a child needs in certain stages of their life, certain things that come up, certain situations they get into at school. They need to have the father to go to. And there's other situations they need to have the mother to go to. And that's why having the balance, I think, of a complete family unit with a mother and father really makes the kids feel like if they can't go to one, they can go to the other. When they need to go to both, they come to both. And we've really utilized that a lot, because there's times where the boys will share stuff with their mother that they don't want to tell me. And I'm okay with it. I don't take it personal, because it works both ways. And then we end up, usually Melissa and I communicate, after that together, get everybody on the same page. But still, a father is so critical to teach, especially sons, but even for daughters, just the life skills that we can teach our children are so valuable. And the fact that fatherhood and masculinity is being torn down, I don't understand the motivation for that, but I will say having masculine men in the world is crucial. And I don't see the negative side of having strong masculine men in the world that are Christ lovers. They have integrity. They walk the walk. You know what I mean? And I just don't see how there can be an issue with that. So
can I piggyback on that? Because I wanted to say this earlier, but you look at Oasis, right? And what you are is what you attract. What I love big time about Oasis is that we're men here, right? You've been to some churches. I'm not trying to knock them, but they feel like being a Christian, you have to be the floor mat, right? The doormat. Everybody walks all over you, right? I love that Oasis has got men here. You look at, the guys that are on my team and such. We're men, right? No one's going to cross Oasis. I love that about us, right? We're not Oasis bouncers. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if anything comes our way, we got men.
Garza, if the shoe fits.
Man, I tell you
If the
what,
shoe fits.
Just wear it, man. Just wear it.
all of y'all, whether y'all know it or not, y'all are my family. And I'm going to lay it down for y'all if I have to. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to lay someone else down that's trying to hurt y'all. And that's how everybody on my team feels. But that's Oasis, right? We're men. And when you're a real man, more men want to hang out with you, right? Because they want to be able to feel masculine and not like, well, I got to be soft because I'm a Christian now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done with that one. That was good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Oasis bouncers. That needs to be on a T-shirt. Someone let Pastor Alex know now the next T-shirt we're slinging is Oasis bouncers. But one thing that Bishop, Pastor Jonathan mentioned last service, and it was so right on. You know, we go back 3 generations ago rather, and you're talking about as far as the man working so many hours, always being away from home, and then you go 2 decades ago where it was just countless affairs and broken homes, and so now we're seeing, you know, a generation of, you know, latchkey kids growing up, and all they've known, you know, was after school programs trying to raise kids. And so what's happening today with this whole deconstruction of the family, we've already separated the father out three generations ago. We broke up the home 2 generations ago. And so now what we're doing is that we're going to devalue the father. And so what's taking place is, even though the fathers that are present, and when we say present, we understand there's broken homes. We understand there's relationships and marriages that had discourse and in a discourse. And so now you might have, you know, shared custody, split custody with kids. So when we say be present, we're not talking about living in the same house. We're talking about being present in the child's life. But when we talk about as far as the deconstruction of the family, and especially of the what's happening today, is that it's the attack on, like you said, Garrett, it's the attack on the masculinity where a man's afraid to be a man. You know, is because we have to make sure that because here's the thing though, this is, you know, ladies, this is kind of what we have to go through, is that, you know, a lot of people say, well, you guys need to talk more about your feelings and open up more. But the second we open up and talk about our feelings, the world calls us soft. Right. But then it tells us that we're too hard because we don't talk about it. Okay. And so what's happening is that it's been a slow process of completely devaluing who we are. And so now what's taking place, that now we have families that don't look at the man in the household. It doesn't look at the father as the leader of the household. You know, as far as it's almost like Gilligan's Island. Everybody just fends for themselves, you know? And so part of what's so vital and crucial as us, you know, especially for men and fathers, is so we can still right the ship. You know, just because the world is trying to take out value in people doesn't mean that it has to happen in your home. You know, so instead you can speak. So wives, speak value into your husband. You know, children, speak value into your father. You know, and so just because the world does it doesn't mean that we have to do that. You know, because here's the thing though. What scares me is that what happens to the next generation. So it needs, Garrett, you're right. It takes it more than ever right now. We need men to be men and say, if the world's going to do it, that's fine. But as for this house, this is how we're going to do it. You know, this is what's going to take place. But we can spend hours just talking about this topic, but obviously there's a clock in the back that tells us that we're standing between us and people's lunch. So we got to speed this up a little bit. But the next question, and this is kind of one of those things that maybe we don't feel comfortable talking about because, you know, have kind of opening up doors or actually kind of being real as far as things that we have to struggle with. But what has been your biggest struggle as being a father? So it's like the things that you struggle the most with, or maybe it's past or, you know, current, but what's one of the biggest struggles you've had to face as a father?
I'll go first. I think for me, growing up without a father, you know, up until I got married, before that, I could never picture myself with a son or a daughter. Never ever did I ever get that image crossed in my mind. And now having a baby boy and just, you know, loving on him, I never could picture myself without him now. But it's just something that kind of I would catch myself like I don't know how to be a father because I never saw that. Like I don't know what to do, and I'm so grateful for these amazing dads that I get to feed off of and just watch. And honestly, I just try to copy from all of you guys, and I just want to thank you guys for being, you know, just great fathers in the church. But I think that's been the greatest struggle for me, is not knowing how to be one, and not having, just the example in my life, and doubting myself many times, telling myself that I'm not doing a great job, but just having an amazing wife that reassures me every day, like, hey, you're doing great, and Pastor Jonathan Suber that has been pouring out so much into me, and but that's been the hardest thing for me, is just not knowing how, or not having the example to do that.
So good.
Yeah. I'll go. I think one of the things that I recently had a mirror, I guess, held up into me on is one of my biggest challenges being like operating with more grace. I'm the oldest of my family, of 6 boys, and my dad's a military man. He was an officer in the Navy, so it's very rule focused. Like, if you don't do this, then you're in trouble, and if you break the rules, he was a strict man, and we weren't supposed to break the rules, and so I'll share this story from yesterday. So we were driving to Dallas, and we were taking 2 cars. We had to take 1 car to a shop. With the pandemic, that's the closest availability to get your car back soonest. And so for the first time last year, I got a brand new car. I never had a brand new car my whole life. First time I got a brand new car. So boys are riding with me, and my daughter's riding with my wife. And so the 2 boys in the back seat, and lo and behold, my youngest, Chandler, he needs to use the restroom. And what I learned about boys and girls is when a girl needs to use the restroom, she's like, Dad, I need to use the restroom. She can hold it about 30 minutes to an hour from that point on. She's going to give you some warning. But then with your boys, they're already 10 minutes past the point where they can hold it when they tell you, Dad, I got to go. So Chandler's so we're driving, and we're going to Dallas on 35, where these concrete barriers are here, and there's no shoulders, and the exits are few and far between. So we're going, and he's like, Dad, I gotta go. I'm like, just hold it, buddy, just hold it. We're not anywhere near, just hold it. And he's like, 30 seconds later, Dad, I gotta go. It's emergency. I'm like, shoot, okay. So I'm like, dang, I don't like to do this. It's a new car and all this. So I'm like, okay, well, we had an empty water bottle, right? And all the parents know where I'm going with this, right?
Wait, hold up. Raise your hand if you've been there.
Yes.
You're welcome. You're not alone, brother. You're not alone.
Right? So we had an empty water bottle, and I'm giving them clear instructions, right? Because I'm like, please don't, let's get this right. So I'm like, hey, make sure you put the water hose all the way into the milk jug, essentially. This is the instruction. I'm telling them really clear. Make sure, and I'm telling him at least 3 times. And he's like, okay, Dad. I give him the bottle. I'm driving. All of a sudden I hear, that's my other son, Charles. And I look, all of a sudden it's kind of like somebody had a shot glass full of urine they threw in the front. Boom, it's all on the armrest. It's in the air vents. It's on the AC.
Wait, stop.
It's legit.
Stop. Wait a second. This is your story. I'm so sorry I keep interrupting. Did you just say it was in the air vents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, mind you, I had already given them clear instructions from a strict background, and I'll be candid. I lost it at that point, and I was just like, I raised my voice, and I was just like, I can't believe I gave you simple instructions, So we get to literally 5 minutes later, the exit is here where I can exit. We get out to clean it up, and as I'm getting out of the car, and I'm like, hey man, I didn't mean to yell like that. I apologize. That I should have handled that better, and I'm also apologizing to my other son. And we get into the store, and we're using the restroom, and I can feel his countenance was down, and I can tell it really affected him. And yeah. So next thing you know, I just you know what, let me talk to you one more time. I was like, hey, buddy, I'm sorry about that. Do you forgive me? I'm like, I made a mistake. And as I was saying this, there was a worker in the gas station who kind of overheard me. And And right when I gave him a hug, and he gave me a hug, and I also apologize to Charlie too, just for hearing it. I gave him a hug too, and then the worker, he made eye contact, and he gave me that nod, kind of like, like that's what fatherhood is about, like right there, because he heard the whole forgiveness part, and then he's just like, Happy Father's Day, man. And then I was like,
Good, bro. Good. You did it right.
And I know the Lord kind of had that guy acknowledge that point, because it's not about perfection, It's about like, doing better than you did before. And if you make a mistake, you correct it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm learning.
That's so good.
There's a lot of power in asking for forgiveness from your kids. We don't always have it right. I joke around about I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. I say that in my house all the time. But I've apologized to my kids. You get after them because you think what you understood was solid, but it's actually incorrect, and then you've already passed judgment for the wrong information, and then you're like, man, I'm sorry. I messed up. So there's a lot of power in saying, hey, I'm sorry. All right, kids can really learn a lot from that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I find myself apologizing, fairly often. I've been a professional yeller in the past, but I'm better. I'm a lot better now than I used to be. But sometimes, when you say something in your normal voice, it doesn't happen. Then you say something in the next level voice, it doesn't happen. Then you yell. And then, whoa, what did I do? What's the big deal? Why are you so mad? I wasn't mad 45 seconds ago. I was good. So, but no, honestly, I think for me, one of the biggest struggles is seeing things come out in my kids that I don't like about myself, that I want to change that about myself, and things that maybe, issues, things that I've had with my father. And when I have that experience with them, I really try to slow my roll and go, hey, you used to do the same thing. You used to say the same thing. You used to act the same way. But I just, now having that wisdom of being older and maturing and living through those things, you kind of want to intercede for them right away. Like, hey, don't do that. I'm telling you, that's not a good idea. And what are you talking about? It's like, no, trust me. It's not a good idea, So I say that's always been a pretty big struggle with me, is just trying to continue to guide them and not live their lives for them and not rule over them, but also just kind of continue to steer them, and sometimes you steer a little more than you should, and sometimes you let go of the wheel for a little bit, and you have to let them kind of learn the hard way sometimes. So
Absolutely. And one, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. And two, the struggle can change because the kids change. Hetty, right now you have an infant stranger living with you, but so your struggle might be trying to connect with him at his level, his age, but then he's going to grow up. He's going to get older, which means it's going to bring on a whole new world of different struggles. Because the struggles I faced as when my kids were born, some of them still exist, but I've also developed a whole new world of struggles, that comes and goes. And so it seems like right when you feel like you've put one to sleep, right? Because I know for myself, as far as it was always, because I never needed a bully in my life because I was my own bully. You know what I mean? So so I always look at it as I have thick skin. It's it don't matter what you say to me because I've said worse to myself. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. And so what has happened with me is the fact that I would always think that I'm the least of these. I've always had a self-esteem issue. And so I would smile where I would try to portray to be confident, on the outside, but on the inside, I just want to go hide in the corner. And so, Pastor Jonathan has been, instrumental in walking me through all this stuff for the last, he's been my pastor for I don't know how many years. It's we're going on 8, 9, 10 years now. But what has happened is that I was now parenting my kids, basically trying to portray something what I thought I should be, but they were picking up things as far as I would hear Cohen talk about how he wasn't good at something. And I would hear Cohen talk about how he wasn't good at this or that. Well, how did he pick that up? it was from his father, who he always heard him talk bad about himself. And so once I identified that, as far as that's something that's a struggle that I have to fix. So here's the thing, though. I think I've done a decent job of that, but what has happened now is that it's a whole new other struggle. I have 2 girls who I cannot even, first of all, keep up with. I don't understand half the stuff they're saying. And so it's a whole new struggle. So now I'm struggling trying to keep up with 2 girls. I have a high schooler who, and I love him, but when us boys go into high school, it's like an alien came in, invades our body, and we no longer think the way we used to think. So now I'm trying to have a relationship with him. So it's the struggle changes. But the one thing is, though, is that I'm thankful, like not just for you guys up here, but just Oasis in general, is because of the fact that I've identified the struggle as real, and I'm surrounded by awesome men who will help me through it. And so I think that's one of the best part about Oasis is that I can go to Garrett, I can go to Garza, I can go to all these different guys and say, hey, this is where I'm at. And I know without question you guys would be there. And so I think that's one of the strong suits about Oasis and our struggles. But with that in mind, as far as talking about kind of same question, but maybe a little bit different. On Mother's Day, again, ladies, you guys did a phenomenal job. On Mother's Day, they talk about mommy guilt, and so the question I'm going to ask you guys this morning is, have we ever felt daddy guilt? And I want to clarify that because you're like, what is daddy guilt? Is that a thing? Daddy guilt, as far as I experienced daddy guilt when, before my last promotion, I traveled. I was on the road 3-4 days a week. So I was always in hotel rooms, and because I was gone for 3-4 days, during the week, my wife was the one that was at home being mother and father. She was one giving baths alone, cooking dinner alone, doing dishes alone, cleaning alone, doing laundry alone. And so even though I was doing what I was supposed to be doing on the road, providing for my family, I wasn't home. So I felt all kinds of guilt about that because Nina was covering areas that I felt like I should be doing myself. So have you guys ever experienced dad guilt?
Man, I did. With Julie, my oldest one, I did a lot of the weekend dad thing, right? So it was just all about having fun, going to the movies, going to the pool, the park, stuff like that. But when we had Josh and Bethany, it was like, and when they were 4 and 5 when they came home with us, so it was like I felt like I had to make up for all the lost time of not setting the boundaries, not setting the structure. So I focused really hard on these are the boundaries. This is how you're supposed to be. And now they're 19 and 20, and it's like, man, all that time left. And I didn't spend that time loving on them where they were. I was focused on trying to make them right, you know what I'm saying? Because they weren't my ways of thinking and doing. And man, that's what I kick myself for that, because it's like, man, that was so much time of little lives that I could have just loved on them from where they are, show them that security of daddy's always here. When they know that now, I'm always going to be there for them. But that's my big thing is, man, I wasted time in the beginning.
I think for me, I can't compete with Ashley. She's the most incredible mother that I've ever seen, and sometimes I just feel like I don't do enough. It's like what can I do, And sometimes, I have to kind of talk to myself like, I'm here, I'm, hey, Santi, now he waves at me. I'm like, hi, he waves back, and I guess I just have to tell myself that God has blessed me with an amazing wife, and she's always just there, and I do struggle with I'm not doing enough. What can I do? And but as he's just so amazing, she just helps me out, kind of navigate through that. But I think that's something that I've struggled with a lot.
You guys got any dad guilt?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So very similar to yourself, a lot of working. And as the man, the role as a provider, protector, you have all these other titles. And while you're providing and protecting, sometimes you can get lost in the actual doing and kind of forget what the main thing is about, which is, you're kind of raising these disciples up to follow Christ and all these the other things that go with it. And ultimately, as a business owner, found myself in an area where, hey, I wasn't able to make, the gymnastics tournaments. I wasn't able to make the soccer games. I was missing the basketball games. And then, I'm going. And honestly, the pandemic was like the biggest eye opener for me, because that's when I was able to actually be home, and then I saw how much my children had developed and grown, and I'm like, dang, I didn't think I knew this new you. Like, I knew the little you. And so, like, I felt ultra guilty. I'm like, dang, how much time did I trade away for clients who are, like, I mean, when I'm dying, my clients are not going to be by my bedside, like my children hopefully are. And so that's what, as far as dad go, absolutely. So now I'm like in the path to trying to like shut down the biggest business that was kind of like taking my time, in order to kind of rebuild in a way where it'll be more like family, like Lord first, family first, like in order. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So absolutely.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I don't know, my situation was a little different, I think. When the boys were much younger, I lived close to our house. I had a pretty set schedule, and I was able to pick them up from daycare and pick them up from school. Was at all the sporting events, coached the teams, did all this stuff. So I didn't really miss a lot of them growing up due to work. But one thing I'm probably the most guilty about is that we didn't, I guess I'll say we, but as a family, as parents, I feel guilty that we didn't get saved a little bit sooner when our boys were younger. So it's not that they were exposed to anything traumatic or terrible, but we weren't living a Christian life. We weren't going to church, and it was quite a while before we actually, Melissa got radically saved first, and and then I started going to church shortly after. But there was a difficult transition there for our family. But now looking back, I wish we would have done that sooner than we actually did, because the boys were still pretty young. But so I look back at that and just wish that we could have started living for Christ a little sooner than we did. But as far as traveling or being gone, I do travel now. It's just been the last 3 years, but now I'm blessed because I feel like I'm leaving 2 men at home to take care of the house and to take care of my wife. So I don't feel guilty about that per se. I'm blessed to be in that position, but I do have guilt over their early years before we were living for Christ. So yeah.
Well, I'll definitely say, Garrett, you're one of the best dads that I know. Yep. I mean, so without question or hesitation, and you can tell a lot by a father by his children, and you have the 2 most respectful sons like this in this church. So,
thank you.
So we got a couple minutes left, and I think our last question, we can definitely take some time answering it, is talking about as far as advice that you'd want to give to other fathers, something that you want to pass down. I know for me, as far as was very vital, having a boy and having 2 girls is vastly different how you raise a boy versus how you raise girls. I mean, it's anyone that's got both will understand this, and I know for me, it's the difference between teaching and showing. I have to teach Cohen how to be a man. I have to teach Cohen as far as it's, that this is how you open the door for a lady. Ladies, you better let your husband and men open the door for you. And so the thing was happening now is that, and yes, a man is not more important than a woman is not more important than a man. But we can't devalue a man and then complain about not being treated like a queen.
Well,
Jesus. All right. So with that being said, I have to teach Cohen to pull out the chair for his mom for dinner. I have to teach him all this stuff because who else is going to teach him? It's my responsibility. For my two girls, I can't teach them. I have to show them. And I have to show them how I treat their mother. So now when they look for, when they get older, when they're dating, and then when they find the right guy, they're gonna have to look at how he treats her, because how can she expect, any of my girls, how can they expect something they never once experienced? They have to experience their father treating their mother like a queen. They have to experience their father that will move heaven and earth to make sure that the home is right and the mother is taken care of. So those are the things that's with that. But with that being said, though, is that the advice that I would give, all the ladies, especially all the single ladies. I'd also say this, as far as you also have to remember that and Pastor Jonathan said it perfect. You are their mother. You had Mother's Day. You don't get Mother's Day and Father's Day. You have mother. You're the mother. You're not the mother and the father. The child needs a father. You're not the father. And so it needs to have, a group of men, like people up here, or anyone in this church, everyone at Oasis, as far as that that you can pull in, that they can get godly men advice from, and where you're not trying to be dual roles. You're not trying to be the mother and the father, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And so when it comes to the advice that I would give is simply that, is that we need more men raising men instead of moms trying to raise men. And so, because what's going to happen was what's happening, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking this from experience and everything else, is that because what happens, you have broken marriages, and you have moms who are raising men, trying to raise men, but they're coming from a season of resentment and hurt, and it's almost now we're teaching young men to be ashamed because now they're thinking they're going to do something their father did. And so we have to make sure that when we're raising men, that we raise them the right way. And so I would strongly encourage that we're showing and teaching, our kids. So when it comes to advice, what would you guys want to pass on?
So I got a couple of things I want to pass on to you guys. One is, it goes by really, really fast. It's amazing how a blink of an eye, and they're already driving, and then they're going to hang out with their friends instead of just you being everything. The second thing is, I grew up in a strict home, where there was a lot of rules, and if you stepped outside of those rules, there was punishment for it. And that kind of changes the way you think about God, right? You think of God the way you see your dad is, if you mess up, I'm going to punish you for it. So then being a dad, I got to show grace to my kids. There was times they messed up and they should have gotten spanking for it, and there was grace. Come across my lap. Okay, that's all you had to do. You're good. Get up. So show grace, right? Because we are the image that they see as God. And then to all you guys that have little girls, I'll tell you this: you're the first man they're going to fall in love with. So you got to make it count, right? Because the way you treat that little girl is going to be the man she's looking for. So if you're rough with a little girl, she's going to look for a rough relationship, and that's not good for you later on, because then you're going to be having some troubles. That's all I can say. Make God the center of what you're teaching your kids, right? Because you're not going to be around forever, but you got to leave them someone that is. That's it.
That's good. That's good. What I'd say is, do these three things, right, in order to be a good dad. Spend time with your children. Show them love. When they make a mistake, I don't know, somehow, like, you think when you have to discipline them, you got to yell at them, or you got to get angry, or you got to really let them know this time, I'm serious. I realize it's like, okay, I can do that and not make them feel unloved. You know what I mean? So showing love, spending time, and then having grace. We need that from the Heavenly Father. Right. So, that's what I'd say. Do that, and it doesn't matter what else you do. And just if you make a mistake, just go back and let them know, I messed up. You know what I mean? Dad's not perfect. And that so far, from an imperfect person, I think that's a recipe for a better relationship and more, and a way to get them closer to Christ.
Now, Eddie, I know that you've been a father for 11 months. It's amazing what you can learn in the first year. Actually, it's amazing what you can learn the first week. Yeah. Let's be honest. But coming from your plethora of experience, what can you give new dads to be, or what kind of advice can you pass down?
I think just being very proactive in speaking to your child, speaking the word of God to them. I mean, that's all I can do is just speak to him. Now he's starting to like, but ever since he was born, I've just been speaking what I believe God has placed in my heart about him, and just engaging with him, and just learning to stop and look at his eyes and smile with him. Having those moments where he knows, he sees me looking at him, and it like our world stops, and it's it's just an unexplainable moment, and just seeking for those moments, seeking for those now I can do that with him, and I'm always just he kind of looking at me and I'm looking at him, and we make that connection, and I think learn to make space or seek for those gaps where where something special can happen that's unexplainable, but that's gonna shape them for the rest of their life, I believe.
Yeah, and you have, when I say like the perfect son, you two are doing something incredibly wrong, because I haven't seen him in Baby Gap. I haven't seen him in a Kmart catalog. Is Kmart still around? I don't know if Kmart's still even a thing. That kid needs to be plastered. I mean, he's like, I've never seen a better good-looking kid in my entire life, and I've got 3 of them. So Tony Hernandez and I, we have this whole thing as far as we're trying to figure out who Santi is going to love more when he gets a little bit older. So we're all trying to grab him, and so Tony's spreading lies to Papa. Yeah, that's a given. No, that's a given. It's between Tony and I for second place. Obviously, well, when the bitch is in the house, we all fight for second. I mean, that's how. Garrett, what kind of advice you got?
I've got a lot. I'll try to keep it short. I'd say, I agree. It goes by extremely fast. People used to tell us that all the time. Like, we hope it does. In the moment, having young children, it's hard. And but you'll never get those moments back. So cherish every season, the good and the bad. But probably the biggest thing I would say is that, especially for those of you with younger children or about to have children, the struggles and the sacrifices of raising young kids will be completely overshadowed by those bad seeds and things like that they're going to reap when they're teenagers and adults. That time that you don't spend with them, that TV show that you don't turn off and speak with them and give them your full attention, the repercussions of those will be astronomical down the road. And it seems in the moment, it seems like it's not a big deal. Oh, they're complaining about this, or they need this, or what. But you really have to be 100% engaged in every moment. Speak from personal experience. I still have issues with the fact of my dad never really hugged me a lot. Was always watching the television when trying to sit there and maybe have a conversation, or and he wasn't a bad father. He wasn't. He was a great provider, and he did show me love. But hug your children. Pay attention to your children 100%, no matter what else is going on in that moment, because you just never know what kind of seed that plants with them, and they're going to carry that on. And when that seed comes to fruition later down their life, it can be very painful or ugly. So the things that we do as parents, and especially as fathers, really have such a huge impact on them, even when they can't even speak with us yet. We remember those things, and we carry those things with our life. So it's fragile, but also it takes a tough love sometimes, and but definitely hug your kids, give your kids all the attention, because when they move out or about to move out, it's hard, and you just wish them the best. So,
man, can we give these guys a huge hand? And yeah. I will. I will say I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I mean that from the depths of my soul. I really enjoyed talking with you. I know you guys, but I learned a whole new side of you just now, and I have so much. Not to say I have more respect for you, but it's so awesome to know that there's other godly men that's walking this planet that have shared values, shared beliefs. And I think that collectively, between not just you guys, but everyone in this room, man, collectively, we can do some really good things together. So thank you for all that you're sharing. Thank you for your stories. We're going to close out. Bish, once you come up, Pastor Jonathan Suber is going to go ahead and close us out this morning.
Oh, my goodness, that was so good. We did this 3 times. And each panel, I thought the other one couldn't get better, and it just kept getting better and better. It was incredible. One thing that in the second service that just came to me when we were talking about some of this stuff, and as a father or just as a parent, and I know we have single moms here that are doing their very, very best, as Pastor Jeremy said. But the difference between disapproval and acting disappointed. You can discipline a child and never say you're disappointed in them. Because disappointment, when you say you're disappointed, you're bringing shame. And shame is never from heaven. Shame is never from heaven. And so I think that's one thing that as we were talking a while ago, and I know these men, I know so all of these men, that there's a way to discipline. Yes, at times you have to discipline. At times you have to, and I have adult children now, at times you have to disapprove. But may they never hear out of my mouth, I'm ashamed of you. Because I may totally disagree with their decision, but I will always be their biggest fan. And if we can handle that as fathers and as mothers, as parents, and create an atmosphere, what would happen if we could raise a generation that did not know shame? That all they knew was the unconditional love, because we're standing here today because the unconditional love of the Father. Amen. I want us to stand together. Can we just thank God for, I just feel that today, the unconditional love. I know on Father's Day, it's an American celebration of fleshly fathers, but the presence of God has been so strong, even in this service. The worship has been incredible today. So we just thank you. Father, we thank you. We thank you that you're the supreme example. We thank you that you showed us how to say, hey, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. God, teach us as men to be able to say that to our children. We're pleased. We don't have to agree with everything to be pleased. God, I thank you that you'd begin to equip everyone in this room, but specifically the fathers. With every eye closed, if you're a father in this room and you've heard something today, you've been challenged today, because our goal was not to have one of these services where you're hearing everything a man's doing wrong. It seems like Mother's Day, everybody wants to laugh and cry, and then at Father's Day, it seems like everybody wants to beat up on the fathers. That wasn't our goal. We want to encourage you so much and uplift you so much, and maybe put a smile on your face as you're on the way out. But if you're here and you say, Pastor, I heard something today that challenged me, and I need supernatural strength to do better. And if you don't want to do it on your own, all of us on this platform will help you. Find one of us. Find a man in this church. But if that's you, would you raise your hand? I just want to see who you are. Thank you. All over this room, I want to see, because there's things I just don't do well. I told my dad guilt in the second service. There's things I just didn't do well, and we live with that. But I love the grace of God. I love what Charles said about grace, the grace of God. And so, Lord, I thank you for these men that are in this room that have asked you for extra grace, that have asked you for extra strength and extra anointing, not only to raise the small infants like Asante, but even those of us in this room that have adult children that are on their journey. Lord, let us still be there, solid, representing the love of God. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Woo, what a fun day. Here's what I want you to do. We got cold ones out there. We got sweet tea out there for everybody. We got all kind of stuff. I want us just to have a little party as you're on your way out. If you see a guest, make sure you love on them and talk with them. But we're glad you were here. Can't wait to see you Wednesday night. But if you're a father and if this is Father's Day, happy Father's Day. Go have fun. Go do something fun.